bear with me. I know the title, the thumbnail was a bit bold, but we are not going to get raunchy here today. We are talking about something that most female leaders, most girl bosses, most high achieving women never connect the dots on. And that is how intimacy affects your entire leadership vibe. Okay. It fuels your creativity, your clarity, and honestly, like your whole aura and energy that you carry around with you is affected by the level of intimacy. And yes, the word sex, sex, affects everything around you. And so if you've been overwhelmed or stressed or feeling disconnected and like from your spark, what I say today might truly change everything for you. And so a while back, there was a season where I was so overwhelmed running businesses, being a mom, deciding to homeschool my son. And I just felt like I was running on fumes. You know, those times where you're trying to get a workout in, you're trying to track your water, you're trying to eat healthy, you're trying to do all of these things. And what you really want to do is you want to be alone. And you start to isolate yourself and you start to want to disconnect from everything around you because you just feel so overwhelmed. And that is what we tend to do when we get in those seasons. But what happens is when we start to distance ourselves from connectivity and being connected to another human being, we also are disconnecting from our feminine power, from our creativity, and honestly, like just our confidence as leaders. And so the moment you start nurturing that again, and the moment you start tapping into that emotional and physical and like energetic part of you, that is when the switch flipped for me. Like that is when everything started to change, because healthy intimacy is not just about physical needs or just about sex. It is truly driving your creativity. And I remember growing up in like middle school art and thinking like, I'm not creative because I wasn't a good painter or I wasn't a good drawer. You know, I couldn't do those things. But being creative is so much more than just what we consider art in the world, right? Being creative is where our ideas flow from. It's where the goodness comes out of us. It's where we decide what's next for us. And when that well dries up, because we become so overwhelmed and so burnt out, it's usually because we have pushed everything good away from us. And many times that's also our physical intimacy. And yes, you could draw like a really close parallel to this with friendship as well. But in this instance, we're talking about how can I reignite that flame inside of me, because I still want to be able to do all the things well, right? And show up well in all areas of my life. Because when you tap into that, it wakes up the parts of your brain that are for inspiration, for problem solving, and where your confidence lives. It pulls you out of that overwhelm mode and helps you become bold and listen to your intuition again and really start to fuel that leadership, feminine energy inside of you. And once I started prioritizing connecting again in my life, I was shocked at how quickly my creativity came back. So it doesn't take long. Like I stopped feeling stuck and my ideas for my businesses were flowing again. My team felt more supportive. And honestly, like I showed up as a lighter, more confident version of myself because I felt sexy and I felt desired and I felt wanted and I felt seen by another human. And it wasn't a coincidence. It was completely a pattern, because even studies show us that healthy intimacy it boosts creativity. It lowers your stress. Hello, sign me up, and increases your confidence. But honestly, you know, like the real proof doesn't have to be like for me in a study, but it's how dramatically my mindset changed, how it shifted when I reconnected with my partner. And it's like I said, flipping that switch. So if you like what you've heard so far, here's my subscribe. So make sure you subscribe and follow us for episodes dropping every single week as we dive into more about growing ourselves as leaders and women in the world. And so here's the deal. When I look back on those seasons, the pain, the overwhelm, the burnout, the dry well, like if you have been there, you know, what is the hashtag? Like IYKE if you know, IYK, right? I know. It like that. If you've been there, you know. And those are the seasons where you withdraw. But when you learn to lean into that connection again, you learn to reach out, you learn to say yes, even when you don't really feel like it. That's when your energy changes. That's when you start to feel calmer and clearer and more magnetic. And when you feel more magnetic, you increase all of the things in your life that are coming back to you: money, opportunities, conversations, doors open. But if you are this like very stoic, hard, crunchy version of who you could be, those same doors are not going to open. But this is the shift that showed up and changed my business and my leadership. When I stopped feeling like I don't have time for sex, I don't have time for connection, I don't have time for intimacy, and started prioritizing those and leaning into that and realizing that being connected with another person, another human, can truly tap in and change our levels of confidence. So I am going to show you how that connection can become your secret superpower to feeling calmer, to thinking clearer, and actually getting more done without burning out, right? And here's what you do. First, intimacy switches you out of stress mode. So when we're in stress, we know as entrepreneurs and leaders, we're in that fight or flight state all the time, right? And healthy emotional and physical connection actually turns that off from your nervous system, and it creates a calmer, more open, more creative energy. And so I promised you we wouldn't get raunchy, but I didn't say we wouldn't get real. So think about the last time you had some good sex, right? Good intimate moments. In that moment after, you're not running downstairs to start laundry. At least I hope you're not, right? It's like, bask in joy. Okay. That's the opposite of fight or flight, right? Having that connection. And sometimes intimacy, so many times it's not all just sex. I totally get that. So like if you drop in the comments like intimacy is more than sex. I know. I'm going to give you like a thumbs up because I agree with you, right? I completely agree with you. But I think when you feel connected and you feel safe and you feel desired, you show up differently. You just do. Your ideas flow and your brain is not clogged with all the stress. Because here's the thing to remember: connection grounds you so clarity can come in. That's good, right? And so first, the intimacy does switch you out of stress mode, but also just the simple fact of connection boosts your confidence and leadership presence. Okay. It boosts who you are. It boosts the energy, the vibe that you bring to the room. And so when women feel connected emotionally, physically, spiritually, our confidence skyrockets and we project this magnetic energy and this magnetic feminine power wherever it is that we show up in the world. And that energy is felt in your leadership. It's felt in your home. And it's felt in your business decisions. Because remember, you can't lead powerfully if you're disconnected from yourself. You cannot lead in life if you don't even have a connection with you. And I know if you're like me, in those moments of complete dry, barren soul where you're barely making it through because you have so much going on, not only are you not connected to someone else, you're not connected with yourself. And if you don't know what you want, I guarantee you, nobody else knows what you want either, right? And here is the other thing, is creativity thrives when you're not isolating yourself from others. Because when we're not around other people, our little neuron connections up in our brain don't get sparked. They don't get spiced up. We just see the same things. We hear the same things. We talk to the same people, and we don't get those connections up there, right? Because isolation is what kills creativity. So if I had to put like intimacy on one platter and isolation on another, they would be like two plates that can't come together, like the opposite ends of a magnet, like repel each other. So being intimate with yourself and with others is the opposite of isolation. And isolation is where that creative energy dies. But intimacy opens the flow up. The ideas pop into your head and clarity returns and energy changes. Because when you are more connected, you're more playful and you're more fun and you're more open and you're more inspired and you're more spontaneous. I think that's the word that I notice when I'm super stressed and in that fight or flight mode. That spontaneity is what goes first. I'm like, I cannot deal with things I don't know that's happening. I can't, and I didn't have that planned. And, but when you are more connected with yourself, with others, it translates into better leadership, better problem solving, and better content that you're putting out into the world, whether it's your Facebook post, your YouTube channel, your business letters, your communication with clients, and you make better decisions because this creative energy is connected energy. All right. So, yes, it's about sex, but it's also about so much more than sex and intimacy and being connected with yourself too. Right. And so that is what I call girl boss sex because it's so much more than just about another man or another woman. Right. There's so much that goes on in there. And if we have a block there, it can keep us from getting to where we want to be in our lives and our businesses. Because picture this, it's not about having like the perfect romantic life. It's about making space for that connection to happen. And connection is actually a wellness tool. You could probably put it in like the self-care bucket, and a creativity booster and a leadership enhancer. Because healthy intimacy is really like one of the greatest forms of self-care. Because if you're an overwhelmed woman leading a big life, staying connected and intimate with other humans is key for helping you feel grounded, for lowering those stress and cortisol levels, and for helping us stay calm and being the best versions of ourselves when we show up in all the areas of your life. And if this episode hits home for you, then you are probably craving that kind of alignment, clarity, and a softer way to lead in your businesses and your life. And for the first time ever, you can book a free call with me, a one-on-one call. There's a link in our show notes, and we will sit down for 30 minutes and just chat about what's going on with you and what that could look like if you could truly live in alignment without burnout and overwhelm. Because whether it's turning your 6-figure business into a 7-figure business or realigning your priorities, I'm here for you. And I am ready to walk this road next to you. So, what do you really want in your life? What's next for you? Until next time.